Good morning and welcome to Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE, online at kvre.com and on iHeartRadio. Alongside Tracy Simpson, I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, as the late Hall of Fame broadcaster Vin Scully would remind listeners, pull up a chair. We're just getting started. The World Series is here, and the Fall Classic is packed with storylines and star power. The Los Angeles Dodgers, they're the defending champion, and they're aiming to become the first team since the 1998 to 2000 Yankees to win back-to-back titles. They swept the Brewers in the NLCS, and they boast a powerhouse roster featuring 4 former MVPs, including Shohei Ohtani, who's returning to the World Series for the second straight year. On the other side of the coin, in the East, the number 1 seed Toronto Blue Jays, making their first World Series appearance since 1993 when they won their second consecutive championship. Their path was far more dramatic. They came back from a 2-0 deficit against the red-hot Seattle Mariners to take the series in 7 games in the ALCS. It was all capped by one of those clutch Springer dingers, as they call him in Toronto, from George Springer. But make no bones about it, Tracy, this is number 1 versus number 1 out there. But this is David versus Goliath. The Dodgers are heavy favorites. The Blue Jays are going into this one as the underdogs, but they've been defying expectations all season. Toronto was picked to finish 3rd in the AL East after finishing dead last in the division a year ago. Buckle up, because I think this one's going to have some fireworks in it.
Well, and Mark, here's the bottom line, too, though, is that Toronto, I think, if anything in their favor, is that they get the first game at home because they had the better record.
Yeah.
Okay, by 1 game. So you speak of David Goliath, they had a pretty good little season. Of course, they had to come from behind on a lot of games, and that's been their MO the whole year. So if anybody can do it, Dodgers sort of they start off slow too. But I think that right there, you're the numbers guy. If you go back and look and see the first game, and of course that really hadn't been in these playoffs so far, because you've seen a lot of teams on the road win games. But if you go back and look, it just seems important in this game of series of 7, the best of it, the first guy that gets the home field advantage and home win, that number is tremendous. It's way on up there, like at 72% or something like that. I think the last team that came from way far behind was the Boston Red Sox a few years ago. But as it is right now, I think that's going to speak volumes, because if you watched that game the other night, wow, what electricity was running through that place. I mean, everybody, it was rocking. And somehow I think that more than in football games, I think the fans mean a lot to these guys. You can see that in the post interviews, of course, with Springer talking about how he loves the town, loves the country. Loves the country. That one got me there for a minute. But hey, David Goliath, USA against Canada. Anyway, it's just food for thought. I'm trying to.
It's a good story.
Yes, it is.
It's a really good story, and it's a good story for Springer, and that's about as much as I'll say out of the former Houston Astro there, though. But I mean, he stepped up in a big way. You look at that; it's a Game 7 environment. Seattle is ahead, 3-1 at the time, entering those later innings, and somebody stepped up and made a historic home run for Toronto, one of the most historic postseason homers in Blue Jays history. And now, of course, they have the tough task of going up to battle against the biggest payroll in the MLB. And you've got Shohei Ohtani. I got a lot of messages this week talking about the 3 home run, 10 strikeout performance. Ohtani becoming the first player in MLB history to do that in a playoff game. It very well may be the best postseason effort ever in a playoff game. And everybody keeps asking me this week, is Shohei Ohtani the greatest player of all time? Who am I to say no? Who am I to say no? Because when you hit 3 bombs during a game and then go strike out 10 in a very crucial playoff game there to seal the series win over Milwaukee, the best team in baseball going into the postseason, although that series didn't prove it, Yeah, we're looking at the stuff that legends are made of. And why not? Maybe we are, because baseball, it's so easy to be romantic about this game because you continue to see things that have never been done before. It's a game that continues to evolve, and the players that step up to continue playing this game find ways to do the unthinkable.
Well, you're exactly right, unthinkable, because when you're talking Ohtani, you got to go all the way back to the Bambino. I think that's the comparison. That is it. I mean, you've got to, because pitching that many strikeouts plus hitting that many dingers, there's nobody else has ever done that. Nobody. And you're right. I've been talking Ohtani for how many years now, and I think of some great ball players, and you can too, man. Obviously, got the numbers, but this guy, even fighting through all of his injuries.
Yeah, he has not been healthy.
No, that's the situation. Plus, look at the situation with his interpreter.
Got a little bit of a scandal involved as well.
And then how many cameras you think, how many different times he gets his picture taken during the course of a game?
I mean, he's celebrity status. He is celebrity status, and
a young man.
There's nowhere he can go without a camera on him.
Yeah, and a young man at that too. But to have that much, you got to look at his background and his raising and stuff like that, and then come full swing, and no pun intended, to see where he's at right now. And he is, man, right now, even with this limited years in professional baseball, he is the GOAT right now, as far as I'm concerned, and making his presence, just him being there. Look, at one point he was like, going to 125, and then all of a sudden he gets out of his slump, and he's at 343. But his presence there makes the difference. You can see everybody sitting in the dugout, feeding off of him. Whether they go up, and of course he doesn't understand. I'm sure he's catching some English now here or there, but everybody going up to him, knuckles, whatever, fives, and feeding off, getting that karma off of him. You could just tell, hey man, when he comes off the mound, the emotion, he's there. He just is at even keel, and he's the game changer. And I don't think that the Jays have that. I don't think they've got the one, and of course they got one of the best hitters in baseball. We talked about him last week.
Well, the Blue Jays don't have anybody that's going to go out on the mound and then go to the plate and blast a home run, but I wouldn't be so fast to say that they don't have the guy.
No.
I think the guy is there. Now, is he up against a brick wall in this series? Yes, he is, but that guy is easily Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Mm-hmm. He's been the best player in the postseason, I think, regardless of any team. And I think outside of Ohtani's historic Game 4 performance, I think collectively throughout the postseason, I believe Guerrero Jr. has been the best player for any team in the postseason this year. Of course, 6 months ago, he signed the third largest contract in MLB history, and he's been a superstar. He's slashing an absurd video game numbers. 442 at the plate through the postseason. Mm-hmm. He has struck out only 3 times this entire calendar month. 6 home runs in the postseason. We talked about this last week. Right. It's a Blue Jays franchise record for postseason home runs in a career. And this is a Blue Jays team that went back-to-back in the early 90s and made it look really, really good. The defense is there. He's smart on the base pass. This is the guy. Now, like we said, the Dodgers are the favorite. They should be the favorite. You look at the payroll, you look at Ohtani, you look at this massive pitching rotation that went the distance in this series and made a Milwaukee Brewers team look like they didn't even belong in the playoffs. But it is not all doom and gloom. You talk about me being the numbers guy. Here's a stat for you guys out there that if you're rooting for the Blue Jays, whether you love Toronto, and I've had opportunities to see Toronto in the Rogers Center, it is an absolute beautiful, beautiful stadium in the MLB. Here's a stat for you. So in this year's LCSs, you had one team sweep, the Dodgers, and then you had another team make it after winning a Game 7 in a tight-knit series, Toronto. This has only happened 5 times since 1985. And in each of those 5 years where this happened, the team that won the 7-game series that was battle-tested went on to win the World Series too. Mm-hmm. So maybe you're not a Toronto Blue Jays fan. I am. They're one of my favorite teams. But even if you're not, and you just want to go against the big dog and, down to the payroll and all that, there's a chance. there's a really strong chance here. But they have to get in, and they've got to disrupt this pitching core of LA that just went the distance. And remember, LA got a lot of extra rest because they closed out their series in 4, and they're sitting at home and they're just watching TV, and they're watching, all right, who's going to be? Who's it going to be? And I'll tell you right now, they're like, shoo, it's not Seattle. Good news for us. We've got this. But sometimes the team that's really, really red hot, like the Dodgers, and then you're forced to cool off, sometimes that's the worst possible thing that can happen to a team.
6 days. You're right. It's similar. I'm going to give you an instance. It's similar to teams that, and I'm going to revert back to like college teams that have to take a month off before they play in their whatever bowl they're in.
That's right.
That can, it hinders you because you're not in the game rhythm. And you're just sitting there practicing, blah, 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 and you get in a lull. But that's a great point, Mark, a very good point. And I think that this, like I said, I'm going to go back. Game 1 last night made a big difference. And we're going to see if that carries over because, hey, look, no matter what, this is going to be a good series.
And despite what happened, if we've learned anything in any of these postseason series, Game 1 doesn't necessarily mean anything at this point. We saw in the ALCS where the Mariners took home field advantage away from Toronto, made it look easy. I mean, it looked like Seattle was about to run away with this thing.
And the last batter, remember, and then who was up at the very end, man? Raleigh had the next bat.
Raleigh was in the on-deck circle. And you'll always wonder. You will always wonder because there was a runner on base. You will always wonder what would have happened.
Coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I mean, I'll tell you my answer. They would have intentionally walked him.
Well, when they did that earlier, that just really...
I know.
That was just foul play there.
It makes you look scared. It feels cheap.
I mean, they did it right.
It's a legitimate strategy.
They did it. It worked.
You're going to see it happen a lot in the World Series as well with Guerrero Jr., Springer. Maybe so. But when it all comes down to it, they'll never remember, they intentionally walked the big hitter because they were scared. They're going to remember who hoisted the trophy at the end of the night.
There you go. That's the bottom line. And it took, 32 years? Is that what it was? Something like that?
Long time. And the Mariners will have to wait just a little bit longer to try to reach their first World Series in club history. Hey, the NBA has tipped off, and when we talk about championship trophies, OKC is looking to defend theirs. We break down and make our picks for the National Basketball Association when we come back on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE.
Second quarter coming up.
And we're back. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE. He's Tracy Simpson. I'm Mark Oliver. Tracy, the NBA restarted this week. The 2025-26 season tipped off with the Oklahoma City Thunder just getting past the Houston Rockets in double overtime, an instant classic, and I think it sets the bar for what this season just might be. But OKC enters the season as the defending NBA champions and the clear title favorites going into this year. But a wave of injuries, blockbuster trades, and rising stars have created a wide open and maybe somewhat unpredictable landscape. First, let's talk about OKC, the team that won it in a 7-game series over the Indiana Pacers, my dark horse candidate that fell just short. You want to talk about coulda, woulda, shoulda. Tyrese Halliburton with the Achilles injury in Game 7. He plays that game injured. He goes down. You never know what might happen. I had a chance. There's a show on Netflix that's called Starting Five, and they showed Halliburton in the locker room within the literal minutes after the injury and some of the interviews with Halliburton afterward. And of course, he's out for most of the season, recovering from that Achilles, and so is Jaylen Brown for the Boston Celtics. We talk about some of those injuries. Sorry, not Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, for the Boston Celtics. Out pretty much for the season. You may see him come back for the postseason push. It depends on where the teams are in the Eastern Conference. Kyrie Irving, another big one, out for Dallas, of course, who won the Cooper Flag sweepstakes. So we're going to see the Duke stand out, have his rookie season, and see where the Mavericks can go with that. Damian Lillard being moved from the Bucks back home to Portland. He's also out with an injury for the whole season. So it throws things into the mix a little bit. The one team that I didn't mention in all of that injury craze was the defending champs OKC. The Thunder had a dominant 68-14 season, but a grueling 7-game finals where they were battle-tested. They raised the trophy, and they're back. Their core is intact. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander coming off of a historic year, the MVP, the scoring title, the finals MVP, and of course, what we talked about, that opening game of the season, OKC and the Houston Rockets, now led by who else but Kevin Durant, instantly turning Houston into a must-watch team. They fell just short in double overtime. Is Kevin Durant the guy to lead Houston to the promised land in what we assume is Kevin Durant's twilight years of his career? There are so many storylines going into this season. Which one catches your eye early this year?
Well, and of course, I mean, Houston obviously put him up a good fight the other night, but going the whole season, that's going to be tough. He's already, I'm not saying injury prone, but, his Achilles the 1 year and then, of course, his knee. I don't know if he can go the whole year. Look, it's hard for one guy, one MVP guy to sustain the whole team. It's just that simple. He's going to have some help over there. Looked good the other night. Of course, it was the first game of the year, but boy, I tell you what, so did your MVP, though, too, in the first
35 points
5
in the
in the
season
first,
opener.
though, but when they called on him,
Yeah.
30 in the second.
Got a lot done from the free throw line as well.
Well, he wins the game ball at the very end. So, obviously, but here's the deal. That went in what I thought was pretty interesting, though, leading up to it, it was like an hour per session because they did the awards ceremony and the raising of the banner and blah, blah, blah. And, I mean, it just was on and on and on. Of course, all the games won't be like that. But I think that was I'm talking also about the guy that leads the NBA. I mean, I know how much you love him, but he's and then the interview with him, I'm like, boy, that was awful dry. But as it is, I think that you're going to see some of the new kids that are on the block, no pun intended. I was watching some of the preseason stuff with Cooper Flagg, and that was just stupid. That guy is – I didn't think really coming out early –
there have been a lot of first overall picks that have been busts.
Right.
Now here lately, Victor Wembanyama, no, he's not a bust. Now he's not on a great team, in my opinion, with the Spurs. But Cooper Flagg, and of course, a lot of controversy about him going to Dallas after
still
losing
there.
Luka.
They talked about it the other night.
Yeah, that's still going to be a major storyline. And unfortunately for Flagg, who had no dog in the fight whatsoever, he had no clue what team he was going to. That is going to be the storyline that shadows at least the beginning part of his rookie campaign. But when we look at these teams, the great storylines out there, you're right. Can Kevin Durant sustain it for a whole year? Maybe yes, maybe no. The game is getting younger, and that's exactly what OKC proved last year behind SGA, behind both of the young men from Arkansas, Jalen Williams out there, and the game is getting younger, and eventually we knew that it would. This somewhat golden age of the NBA with your LeBron James of the world, your Stephen Curry's of the world.
He didn't even make it the first game.
Well, he's hurt.
The first game in what? I mean,
he missed the season
opener.
He missed the season opener for the first time, I believe, in his career. Mm-hmm. And you saw Golden State come away with the win, even though Luka Doncic put on a 40-plus point performance.
Crazy.
I think the Lakers are still going to be okay. I know there's a lot. We'll probably talk about the Lakers a lot during the season because they have LeBron and they have that star power out there. But the West still looks like it could be up in the air. And I know, look, a 1-point win for OKC is like, oh no, the title is in jeopardy. But you got to remember the other teams that have been out there in the mix as well. Minnesota and the Timberwolves, back-to-back Western Conference Finals. That is no fluke. They'll still be in the mix. And as long as Jokic is in Denver, they'll still be in the mix. So I think there's going to be a very wild West like we typically see. But it's the East that kind of has me a little bit concerned, Tracy, because no Tyrese Halliburton, no Jason Tatum. And those are two of your top dogs in Indiana and Boston. Now, one team that is fully healthy coming into this year is the team that you could make the argument should have been in the NBA Finals last year. It's the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Okay.
It's the Cleveland Cavaliers. I love Donovan Spida-Mitchell. He's in peak form right now, and he's an absolute leader. And he's coming back into this season fully healthy. So when you look at Cleveland, and they had a massive record last year. Insane start to the season. And they got tripped up by Indiana in the playoffs. But now they're not going to have to worry about Tyrese Halliburton in the playoffs. We assume Cleveland doesn't really look like it has a team that will stand in its way. Possibly New York with the Knicks. Remember, they had that big coaching change. They fired their coach after having their greatest season in decades. And now they're kind of back to square one with the leadership and the coaching part. I know they didn't lose the players. They didn't lose that personnel that got them that far. But until the coaching staff, the new coaching staff, the Mike Brown, proves to me that they've got what it takes, Cleveland looks like the clear favorite in the East. It's really just a question of, can they beat the OKCs of the world or the Houstons, or maybe
Miami.
LA gets up in there.
What about Miami? Have you not even looked at Miami yet?
I don't know. To me, Cleveland seems far and ahead the favorite over anybody else in the mix. Miami's young. Orlando, the Magic have been racking up first-round draft picks for a few years and could also be in the mix. They're a very young squad, but whenever I look at it, I think of, Boston can always find a way without Tatum, Jaylen Brown getting the finals MVP the last time Boston won the finals. But to me, it looks like a collision course. I think Cleveland is the team to beat in the East, and I'm looking at a Cavaliers and Thunder NBA Finals this season.
Oh, Thunder going to repeat, huh?
I don't necessarily. Now, I did not say that. I only said who is playing off against each other in the finals. That's my prediction.
I thought I heard something different. I'm just okay. Maybe it was an echo in the room. I think you're right. You're on track with that. When it's early, look, we do this every year. We do this time and time again. But I like it. I like what you're saying. I think there's going to be a little shift in the guard, like you're saying, with some of these younger players. And so, but and of course, we're going to go with the ones that were in the playoffs last year. There's going to be a little mix so far. But whatever the case is, we're going to have some bench play. It obviously was
for any team.
For any of these teams. I'm just telling you right now.
It's a long season.
That's the way Oklahoma did it last year. If you noted, even their MVP, I'm just telling you right now, Armstrong still, they didn't play the whole game. Of course, he's going to get in his 30 minutes or whatever the case is, but they've got to have a bench. And like you were saying, even the young men from Arkansas that played a part in it also coming off the bench. You hear that a lot, coming off the bench. They've got to be – I'm curious to see who's going to be the sixth man of the year this year, because somebody's going to come off and rack some points up. And they've got a couple. There's a couple there for Cleveland that do it. And so we'll see about that. But I like it. Right now, it's early. But, I'm more concerned about these guys that rotate everywhere, that come there with a team one year, then another team next year.
Yeah, your Russell Westbrooks of the world. Russell Westbrook has completed what they call the NBA jersey rainbow. Have you heard about this?
Oh,
where you wear every color of the rainbow with all the different teams. Shaq has done it. I believe Kevin Durant has now done it with the Rockets.
No doubt.
And then, of course, Russell Westbrook will be wearing a little bit of purple this year with Sacramento, so he's completed it as well.
Money talks, I guess.
And there's not really a whole lot of loyalty with franchises
Well, that's what
anymore.
I'm getting at.
And it's a two-way street. It goes both ways. Franchises aren't loyal to the players, of course. And, I learned that a lot of watching the documentary this week with the starting five and James Harden being pushed out of OKC. We talked about the original OKC team that made it to the finals, KD, Westbrook, and James Harden, and they lose in the finals to LeBron James. But that was a squad that you have to think, what would have happened if they stayed together in OKC? But they trade Harden to the Rockets, and after that, it all fell apart. And OKC finally slapped the Band-Aid on that storyline with an NBA Finals win last season.
Another one of those shoulda, coulda, wouldas. But and I think about that time and time again, or once in a while, because but they just couldn't play together. They just, for some reason, the ball. They wanted the ball. Of course, when you score that many points, everybody wants the ball.
You can make the argument, yes, those are three individuals that when the game is on the line and you need to take the game-winning shot, they all want the ball.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah,
and it's still that way today.
And that's true, but there's very few Michael Jordans out there, or maybe not any at all. But sure enough, those guys, they're all. And not saying ultimate leaders, but they're all just like you're saying, they want to take that shot. And rightly so. If you feel it and you got it, take it. It's just that simple. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's right.
So
that's right.
And obviously you got to you got to go with what your gut feeling is. But also, like you said, let's back up a little bit. There's no loyalty. There's no loyalty at all. And that's the simple fact. Money talks, and that's just the bottom line.
And it's championship or bust.
And that's the deal. If
and
you don't
super
make
teams, and that's kind of the legacy of the NBA. I would say within the past 20 to 25 years, specifically moving on and trying to win. Kevin Durant won 2 Finals MVPs with Golden State. But it's almost like they come with asterisks next to them. Yeah. He wins the NBA Finals MVP, indicating that he was the greatest player on that team for those championship years. But it's still, he's the snake, and he left OKC to go chase a ring. And that was Steph, and that was Draymond that carried him, even though the Finals MVP trophy might say a little bit different.
Yeah, well, who's the one that decides on that, too, is another, too. Somebody that we obviously don't know.
And there's a reason that it's a super secret undercover initiative. Because if those names were ever exposed, they would get railed on social media, no doubt about it.
We'll
so let us know your thoughts on the 2025-26 NBA season. Who is your favorite to win the championship? And what % chance do you give my Utah Jazz on making the postseason? Because I'm telling you so much. Just real quick sneak peek here. This is a team that's been tanking and in the cellar. They tried to get Cooper Flagg last year. They probably should have got Cooper Flagg, but it was rigged. But I don't know how long you continue to tank and secure all these draft picks and then can still continue to do absolutely nothing with them. I don't know what you're playing for. I love bad teams. And it's a skill. It's actually a skill. It's an acquired skill. Let us know your favorite to win the NBA title this year. You can text the show 501-915-1300. Tracy, we've got to go to the gridiron. When we come back, NFL Week 8, big storylines, huge games this weekend. We'll talk about it more when we come back on Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition, 92.9 KVRE, and online at kvre.com.
Third quarter coming up.
Tracy, I keep looking at the NFL standings and wondering when I'm going to wake up from this fever dream that I feel like I'm trapped in. But alas, every time I look at it, we're still here. When we look at the NFL, Week 8 coming up, the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the NFL with an impressive 6-1 record. Last week, I saw a team score 33 points in the fourth quarter to avoid a shutout and win the game by 1 point. And I saw a team that I thought was a postseason contender and I've been in love with all season long absolutely get dismantled in England. And then I take a look around the league, and New England is leading the AFC East at 5-2. What year is it again? And I see the Baltimore Ravens, they're 1-5. And I see a 3-way tie for first place in the NFC West. And I'm thinking to myself, the Super Bowl could actually be up for grabs this year. Right? Right?
Well, I'm going to agree with you on that, dude, because I'm telling you right now, this is the crazy year, and if I have to pinch you, you're going to pinch me back, because if no way, I'm telling you, Vegas is having fits also, but for New England,
they're bleeding money is what they're doing.
Yes, Indianapolis, New England. Are you okay? Sure. Yeah, everybody picked them at the very beginning, didn't they?
No.
Yeah.
Nobody did.
Yeah, sure.
In fact, I had Indianapolis finishing either at the bottom or the very bottom of that division this year. Yeah. Boy, I was wrong.
That's a wide. But remember, we were talking about I think it was the what was it, NFC South?
Yes.
And everybody below 500.
Yes.
And then now this year we were thinking, oh boy, the AFC South below everybody. Well, now it's just crazy, absolutely crazy. And I don't know, man. Indianapolis, and hey, we talked about Jonathan. We talked about their running and Indiana Jones and all the. But I still think it goes back to their owner passing away and them taking pride in it, even though he was not liked by a whole lot of folks. But his ghost is there doing something, and that would be incredible if they come back and they do something really. Which we're at the halfway mark almost, and for him not to be there, that would Anyway.
Yeah. Well, of course, I mean, Indianapolis got a Super Bowl back in like 2007.
Well,
Manny's
gone.
They
Manny's
defeated
gone.
this other team that
gone.
breaks my heart every single Sunday. But Indianapolis plays host to the Tennessee Titans, so they look like they're going to go to 7-1 this year. Just fine. Tennessee has just fired its head coach, and unless there's an absolute miracle happening in Indy, in the stadium, the Lucas Oil Stadium that Peyton Manning built, I think everything's going to be just fine for Indiana Jones and the bunch. Want to take a look at some of the key marquee matchups that we're going to see this week, and I'm going to start with an interesting one. I'm actually going to start with Sunday Night Football.
That's a good one.
Green Bay at Pittsburgh.
Is a good one.
Aaron Rodgers is going to face the Packers for the first time since leaving the team in 2023. Rodgers, who took absolutely forever to decide if he was going to play football this season, turned out he made the right decision. 14 touchdowns, 5 ints this season. Jordan Love has 10 TDs and 2 interceptions this year. I think emotions are going to be pretty high in Pittsburgh as Rodgers tries to prove that he's still elite. And I don't think he has to do a whole lot to prove that he still has gas in the tank. As much as I don't like Aaron Rodgers, I've really kind of liked what Pittsburgh's done this year with him. It looks like it's actually a good fit.
Well, and we've always, especially me, I like their coach, always have. I think that he really is a player's coach, and that like him or dislike him, Aaron Rodgers, look, the other night we saw what he's capable of doing, even in a losing effort. It was one of those games that just it reverse role where they was given too much time to the other Ben Gay player.
The Icy Hot Bowl. They called it the Icy Hot Bowl.
Yeah, right.
How good is Joe Flacco right now?
Well, he's got a pretty good support team, though, right now.
Yes, he does.
I'll be honest with you.
Yes, he does.
When you got the two best receivers, well, I say that right now because we got a team we're going to talk about here in a minute with Dallas that have their other receiver back now. And, boy, I tell you what, so they're vying for the teams have got the best receivers. But once again, Rodgers, look, he's still got it. I can't believe he threw that one ball on the run, 72 yards. And he's 40? Are you kidding me?
All the crazy stuff that he does, and like goes and sits in dark rooms for like 3 weeks at a time and meditating and all that stuff.
Where'd all that come
Imagine
from?
if you would have done that, where you would be with your peak physical performance right now.
Gosh.
You'd still be chucking him down the field.
But I can't thinking about that. Even setting up like I could hit 65 yards, but not on a roll. Not on a run, man. He was rolling. But still, I mean, my 40 was a little bit better than his. But here's the bottom line, Mark. The bottom line is that we've got some players that still have a little bit in the tank. And when you look at the game right now, you know what he wants to do. And you're right. That's going to be one of the premier games. Why do you think they put it on Sunday night by itself?
They know.
In front of the world.
They know.
Okay?
They absolutely know.
I like they. They know. I mean,
Who are they?
They give us fits all the time. But Pittsburgh, this is going to be a good game. Now, here's the deal. Love is playing the best game, I think, that he's played so far. But is he playing the best that he can play?
Oh, I think he's going to be playing very inspired on Sunday night. That is one that they have circled on their schedule. It's been circled for a few years now at this point. Here's one I want to get your thoughts on here. Monday Night Football, Chiefs and Commanders. Kansas City is favored by 10.5 points. They're riding some pretty big momentum right now. Look, they're 4-3. Nothing to write home about. They're technically tied for second in the AFC West. But let me tell you something. After that big win a week ago, Kansas City has elevated to second. I believe in Vegas, they are picked second most likely to win the Super Bowl at 4-3. Total disrespect to the rest of the AFC out there, your Colts of the world, your Steelers of the world. What are your thoughts on Kansas City? Apparently, because Rashee Rice is back, all the wide receivers are back now. Is that an accurate designation to put them as the favorite to win the AFC Championship at 4-3 right now?
Well, it is, because you're right. They're starting to hit on all cylinders on offense. Now, let me stipulate this. On offense, their defense is still a little lackluster. I'll be honest with you. You saw the ball being moved on them. But once again, they're getting the calls. I'm not going to go there, but I am going to go there.
You just went there.
And it's not only me, though, Mark. You got to look across the media board. Everybody's already harping on it, unless you're a Kansas City fan. But the bottom line is they're playing good ball. and they're healthy. Plus, you just remarked about getting the extra receiver back and his go-to guy. I'll tell you what, when he caught that touchdown the other day, he still had some wheels on him.
He still does.
You know what I mean? And like him, love him, dislike him, whatever the case is, Mahomes, he's one of the best out there. And, yeah, he's going to get the calls because he's Mahomes. He's got a couple of rings now, and I think you're right. The way I watched him the other night, I mean, they still lack a little bit of finish work on them because they just don't have the connection. They still don't have that guy that just has got that speed like they used to have, but they still have the connection. And I'm going to tell you what, your guy that likes running that ball in the backfield, Boy Pacheco, he looked really good coming out of the backfield, though, catching passes, too, though, the other day.
Yeah.
So I think, man, I would put him right now in the top 5. I don't know about but I'd put him in the top 5.
I think top 5 is fair because I think they're going to have to contend with another team in their conference, and it may be one of the hottest teams in all the NFL right now. It's the Denver Broncos.
Hey.
Hey, who picked them to go to the Super Bowl this year? One Tracy Simpson did, and I'll make sure nobody forgets that this year. Denver enters Week 8 at 5-2. They've got a 4-game winning streak, and now they're facing a Dallas Cowboys team who's surging after a divisional win. This is a big clash. It's pivotal for playoff positioning, and I think it's just going to be a battle of an elite pass rush versus an explosive offense. Denver and Dallas, this one tugging at the heartstrings a little bit for you?
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt. But here's one of the key things. We saw what Bo did as far as on his wheels. Okay, made the difference in the game. But Dallas is getting back one of their key players this week, all right? That is going to, speaks volumes. Now, can their D-backs keep up with Denver's, not only their passing attack, because they're not that elite there, but Bo has a way of really zipping those passes in. I know Bland took one back, but they only have a 3 ratio turnover pocket right now, okay? So that's nothing to write home to mama about. What they've got to do, they've got to go touchdown for touchdown. The other day when I saw trading field goals for touchdowns, I'm like, oh, gosh, here we go again. Washington's going to come back. But here's the deal. If you don't put 40 on the board, you're not going to beat Dallas. And they have only done that once this year. Now, I know they erased that deficit the other night, but if they get down, I'm not saying that they can't come back because obviously they did the other night. But it's a different Dallas game right now. And maybe the coach is starting to figure out his defense a little bit better, maybe, because it definitely didn't look like Carolina when they played Carolina. But I'm saying if you don't put 40-plus on the board, you're not going to beat Dallas.
Normally, I would say this game comes down to who has more gas left in the fourth quarter. I'm thinking differently for this one. I'm thinking this one comes down to the first quarter. This one comes down to which team can punch one in on the scoreboard, not a little field goal. I'm talking about a touchdown.
Yeah,
get a touchdown on the board, because the one thing to beat this Denver Broncos team, if you put them on the back foot early and force them to have to go to the air, that's not what they're wanting to do. That's not their game plan. So if you go out there and you force them on the back foot by playing your game and Dak getting some of those deep threats out there on the board, make those connections, defeat that pass rush early, you still have to play the rest of the game. I play the other 3 quarters of the game there. But if you can win the first quarter, you're well on your way to taking down a tough team.
Mark, I'm going to go out on a limb here. You ready? And hopefully it doesn't break. We may see a record break because it's in Denver, and there may be a field goal over 65 yards.
Okay.
I'm just
okay.
In the mile.
That's a hot take.
In the air, mile high. You know how how balls travel out there.
Oh, I know.
I'm just giving you the 4-1-1 right now. We may see a record broke on the game. I'm just telling you.
I'm going to watch that one very, very closely for sure. One other game that I want to point out here is one that I normally wouldn't have pointed out, but there's one team here that I think is really starting to turn the page and head in the right direction despite losing an absolute disappointment heartbreaker last week. That's the New York Giants. The Giants are at the Eagles, and normally nobody would care about this, but the Giants did stun the defending champions 34-17 just a couple weeks ago. Now they're in Philly for a Week 8 rematch, and the Giants have lost 12 in a row in the city of brotherly love. But both of these teams are coming off of emotional games, and this is an NFC East battle that I think will be closer than expected. The Giants won, handing Philadelphia easily its worst loss of the season, and it was the Jackson Dart game. Jackson Dart coming in and really taking charge of this offense, and the rookie having a pretty good go of it so far. And I think that's really just kickstarted this rebound for this team. Jalen Hurts is still the guy in Philly. He bounced back with a season high in passing yards last week, 3 touchdowns in a win over Minnesota. But in the running game, Saquon Barkley has not been the guy this year. He's been quiet. They're still winning games, don't get me wrong, and they don't have to rely on Barkley to get it done. But that's an element of this offense for Philly that is simply just not really there anymore. The Giants secondary has been heating up a little bit too, coming up with some big turnovers. I know that it's hard to tout the secondary whenever they literally gave up 33 points in the fourth quarter to Denver and lost the game. But am I crazy? Am I giving this one too much attention? Or maybe am I on the right path here? I think this is going to be a game to watch this week.
No, I think you're absolutely right. But here's the deal. Sooner or later, Barkley's going to have a breakout game.
It hasn't happened yet. But it's always there, right?
And he hasn't had one yet. And I as much as I'd love to say that I'd love for the Giants to come out and get this one, I just don't see it. I see Philly at home once again, where that record's consistent. And he's eventually going to have a breakout game, and I think this is the game. I really do.
This game can go one of two ways. It can be Philadelphia wins, and I don't even care by what margin. A win is a win. If they get that win, it ultimately has to put an end to anybody thinking, oh, this could be our year if you're a Giants fan. Probably puts that season to bed for the rest of the way. But if it goes the other way and Philly takes that loss, I'm not going to I will not come here next Saturday and say the Giants are going to win the division. I will not say it. But what I will say is the same thing I said at the beginning of this segment. Super Bowl's up for grabs. It is up for grabs.
Yeah, it is. But boy, Philly's heavily favored in this game, heavily favored, because everybody, including me and everybody else, the media writers and all the people, they know that it's going to be tough. It's tough to hold a good man down, and sure enough, he's ready for a breakout game. I'm just giving you the 411. If anybody's out there and you're playing those games and stuff, you got a fantasy team, you might want to think about it.
Ooh, my fantasy team is abysmal. I'm so good. My first 5 picks this year, all heavily, majorly injured individuals, including Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Can I throw something at you, though? Kudos to Chicago. I'm going to just tell you right now, kudos to Chicago. And I know Baltimore's a heavy favorite against them, but I'm going to tell you right now, that new coach, of course, coming to what he did up at Detroit, he may be seeing them turn the page a little bit. But kudos to them, I'll be honest with you.
Took the Bears a second to put it together, but they've won 4 straight games since starting 0-2. And look, Caleb Williams has not been flashy, but he also hasn't had to be. Now, Chicago's defense may not be quite like the 1984 Bears, but they do look a little more like the 2007 Bears that did go to the big game before losing to who? The Indianapolis Colts. See what I did there? Full circle. Look, all homerism aside with my Bears fandom, this all depends on Lamar Jackson. If he's not back, there's no chance against the Bears for the Ravens. No chance. But if he is, it's still going to require a lot from the former MVP, a hamstring injury. Look, the fact that it took him half a week to even get into practice this week, the first week that he was back eligible, so many question marks for this one. If he suits up, he's not 100%. And I think that's something that Chicago will be all over, because the Ravens have proven that Derrick Henry can't do it himself, and they have nothing else if Lamar's not there.
They got a great defensive package, man. When they do that blitz, they do an offside blitz, and which is unbelievable. They bring what's the dude that's got the long hair for your linebacker that comes up, man. He is a dog. And man, I've had one of those moments. But I mean, when he blitzes from the blind side, he gets in that backfield. And if you've ever seen Lamar get bothered by somebody, it's that offside blitz. When he doesn't see it coming, and he's not as mobile right now, Mark. I'm thinking the Bears at 7.5. My goodness gracious.
If Lamar Jackson is on the field, and I hate to say this, especially because it's my team, but you don't think that they're going to go target him and go try to hit that leg? It's going to happen, and I think anybody would do it, but I think Chicago will do it for sure. They've got something to prove here. They've got something to prove. All right, when we come back, time for our local roundup. Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition continues in a moment on KVRE.
Fourth quarter coming up.
And we're back, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition. Time for our local roundup here on KVRE. And Tracy, we lead with a story that I know it's near and dear to you. A local legend here in the Hot Springs area calls it a career after a legendary run.
No doubt about it. Thorpeda Ina, man, oh man, oh man. You talk about a gal that just every time she came out on the track, you knew that she was going to give it not 110, but 120%. And obviously, with her career, as many starts and wins, the last time when she came in fourth, everybody thought, well, maybe she just had a fluke. Well, she had the willingness there, but it just wasn't there. Now, of course, the jockey change might not have helped any. Brian Hernandez ailing a little bit of a knee problem, so she had a different jockey on her. But still, though, it was time, and the local connections here with Kenny McPeak, one of the premier trainers around the area, said, "Look, we got a girl that's healthy right now. Let's put her out to pasture," and that's what they did. They retired her. Over $5 million in earnings. One of the greatest filly mares of all time. And, of course, Oaklawn fans around the region, we got to see her up close and racing against the biggest of the big, whether it was in Kentucky or New York, and beating the boys, too, at times. So turning her out to pastures, and, man, oh, man, I bet there's a waiting list for those offspring to come out, and we wish the best of luck to her and the connections.
Hey, what a career. 12 wins in 16 starts and 7 Grade 1 wins. I mean, you want to talk about GOAT status. I know we're talking about horses here, but, one of the best to ever do it. And that local connection, we all feel a part of it because we were a part of the story, part of her great story as well. Hey, a great story for National Park College Nighthawk men's soccer. They're on the road, the men and the women, on the road today at the University of Arkansas Cossata in DeQueen for the NJCAA Region 2 Championship. The men can lock up their 4th title in a row with a win or a draw today, and NPC can lock up the 3-peat today on the women's side if they have a win by 3 goals or more. It's all coming to a head. Postseason is right around the corner, and NPC, especially on the men's side, they believe not only is this the greatest team in program history, they got a youngster by the name of Louis Leroy, the Frenchman, who's going for the all-time scoring record on the men's side today. Big history at stake for National Park College on the soccer pitch.
Hey, and can we give a big shout out to all the volleyball players around here regionally and the tennis players that, hey, they made a big move and also not just the conference but also on the regionals and states and coming up short. But congratulations to all those players out there that gave it their all, just coming up short. But man, we had some great, and a lot of them are juniors and sophomores that'll be back next year, and we'll be talking about them, Mark.
Yeah, future's really bright here on the local scene. I'd like to thank everybody that came out to the world premiere of Fearless as well, our women's basketball documentary. The student commons were packed on Monday night. And Tracy, a really cool moment there, of course, is we surprised NPC's women's basketball team immediately after the movie with regional championship rings. They didn't even know they were coming. And whenever I pulled that box out from behind the podium, they were super excited. And I was pretty surprised to see that there was one in there for me. So my second big bling hardware there. It was definitely a night to remember, and probably one of my favorite projects I've ever done in my sports media career.
I got to say congratulations to you, Mark. I'm proud of you, no doubt. I've seen you grow up in this business, and I look forward to even more with you. And I'm telling you right now.
The film's on YouTube. National Park College Fearless is there for your viewing enjoyment. That's our show, Sports and Shorts Tailgate Edition on 92.9 KVRE.
Game over.